Hey Asheville, welcome to this month's post Creative Mornings AVL late morning show. My name's Tim from Futures Bright and I'll be your host this month. And I'm here with John Vigeland, this month's speaker, and he spoke about Symmetry. Deeply moving. I love the authenticity and I loved the metaphors. When you have a chance, when we post it in a couple weeks, watch it. It's moving. So we wanted to take a moment to ask John a couple kind of personal questions about the talk and maybe an audience question and then some fun wrap-up questions at the end. So the first question is, what excited you about this month's theme of Symmetry?
Yeah, I think it's such a kind of open-ended, interpretable concept. I think I was originally approached, as Mike was saying, because everything we make at East Fork is literally symmetrical. We make pots on the wheel that are these symmetrical items, so it's like very core to what we're doing.
That's true. Yeah, totally.
But, at the same time, it speaks to all these other kind of touchy-feely things of like balance and how we exist in different states and how we can move in between them and how they're all related to one central thing.
And I think that's the coolest point you brought up, is that there's a core fold that we orient toward, and some people will put Symmetry up as opposing forces, like good and evil, but it's interesting to see it more as not a demonization of the opposite extremes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a beautiful part of your story.
Thanks.
From the morning, it's a big morning. There's a lot of people here. We changed venues, and I'm sure you felt a lot of that running around. What was the highlight of your morning?
I'd be lying if I didn't say it was when I finished the talk.
Tell me.
And it was over. But also, there's just been a lot of really sweet feedback afterwards. So it's been. I think that's actually my favorite part, is getting to talk to people who just heard this speech on the subject that I've been thinking about for a long time now, and getting to actually engage with people and realize that some folks identified with what I was saying,
And now you don't have to be nauseous while you're talking to people.
Yeah.
That's always a good thing. Eat food, It's a lot. So we had a really amazing audience question, and I wanted to ask you. When did you make, in your talk, you had this metaphor of these two birds, and one is kind of introspective and one is very much involved in the world and what's happening. So the question was, when did you feel that transition, or when did you make that change from this introspective artist working in the middle of nowhere to this really involved CFO of East Fork Pottery?
Yeah, it's I think I didn't really talk about it during the speech, but one of the things I've learned is existing in those two states is that we all sort of always exist in those two states in different measure, but it's kind of a spectrum upon which we can locate ourselves. So I think, truthfully, I've always been both, and we all always have to be both, but that was the first time in life where I really concretely move from one end of the spectrum to the other. And I think it's been a gradual reorientation. I think ideally you're always trying to move towards the middle.
I
think I'm trying to come back to that.
Yeah.
I recognize that I'm out kind of far on one side of the spectrum right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But you were out the other direction just as far, and there's like an equal orientation.
Yeah.
So in your talk, you say you always put CFO in air quotes. So when you started work, you guys didn't know what you were doing when you first started working together.
Yeah.
Is it this thing that you grew into, or did you feel it shift? When business started to pick up and you're like, wow.
Definitely, I feel like it's been a thing that we kind of grew into, or the situation drew us along with it to some extent, especially early on when we didn't have this, really delineated, 5-year plan or whatever. It was more of us doing the thing that we were really excited about, seeing how the world received it, and then kind of reacting in accordance to how they took it. And so the CFO stuff just arose out of
the need.
The need, like, yeah,
Tell
someone
me
had to
about
file
it.
sales tax, and I was like, I guess I can figure that out.
Hey, I did pottery. I can do taxes.
Yeah, I got a calculator. So.
It's a beautiful phase in a company's life. It doesn't look beautiful, maybe, but when a company has this like aggressive, idealistic, beautiful churning happening, and everyone's doing what they love, and then there's this thing where you start to see the impact and the beauty of where it could go. The imagination starts running, and we adjust to its formation. Mm-hmm. And so, in your talk, which is a very relevant understanding or insight into the creative world that we're living in and the environment, felt that you were challenging or aspiring or inspiring people to acknowledge and not turn away from some of the realities, which I thought was beautiful, because a lot of people are like, no, I am living my worst life because I'm doing analytics for whatever else. Yeah. And I even am, I get into this myself. And so I love that it was a reevaluation of the balance of that fold. And if you find your fold, maybe it makes both of these make more sense. You know, I thought that was a beautiful thing that you came to. It was an excellent talk. I suggest you watch this one, especially. It wasn't perfect, and that's the beauty of it. I think that is the beauty of it. It's nice. Yeah. It's real. So this is the final wrap up. There are 3 questions we always ask every speaker.
Okay.
The first one is, what is your favorite time of day?
I think favorite time of day is early morning, when like night's actually turning into day. That said, I'm like not a morning person who is like always up there like going out for a run and taking it all in, which maybe makes it more meaningful.
It's supply and demand.
Like this morning when I was I woke up real early, and it's just this like when the birds start singing first thing and it's dark, and it's I think that's
the birds again.
Oh yeah, the birds.
The connection.
Wow, yeah.
It's good. What's your favorite spot in Asheville?
I think I've always thought it was pretty magical to go up to, I mean, it's not in Asheville, but up to Black Balsam in the summer in like early August, and be like walking through fields of blueberries and just getting like, that's always, I grew up in Texas where like everything's kind of, plants are pokey and like there's no fruit on them, and if it is, it's poisonous, you know.
I think the beauty of Asheville though is that we're in this space where you can go to places like that
totally.
in a day.
Oh yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Who comes to your mind when you hear the word creativity, and why? I guess it's not so easy, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, it's sort of a cop-out, but I think one of the things I was driving at in my talk is that creativity to some extent gets sort of, it can be kind of fetishized as this thing that like people have or people don't have, you know, or it's a thing you can aspire to cultivating. But in reality, it's like we all have to step up to being creative in certain occasions, and also kind of this other aspect of life of being more resource minded or whatever have you. So I would really like to think of it as something a bit more decentralized than that. That's not like this person's creative, that person's not.
Yeah.
But I'm not answering the question. So.
No, but this is the perfect venue to not answer the question and to also put it in context the way you are, because the theme of Creative Mornings is actually that everyone is creative and everyone is welcome. And so that's what you're saying, is that there is this like, stop delineating creativity is here and stops there. Yeah. I like that. So maybe it's just opening up who and what can define creative.
Totally, yeah. It's like not an inborn talent that you have or you don't, but it's, you know.
I love that.
An inherently human thing that we have to kind of self-actualize around.
Creativity, inherently human.
Inherently human.
Love that. Well, thank you for putting yourself out there, for being brave and courageous, and for doing it and doing an amazing job. It was an honor to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's a privilege to get to speak.
Yes, awesome. All right, thank you, Asheville. We'll be back next month.